There are things in life that make us laugh in the middle of chaos, but there are also truths that stab straight into the heart like a cold blade. The sarcastic lines that seem funny at first suddenly reveal something deeper. People can be cruel, fragile, self-deceiving, and capable of living an entire life without ever understanding why they exist. We fear the truth, fear loneliness, fear failure, yet we keep wearing a mask of strength. These seemingly simple philosophies awaken a quiet ache. We've spent too long forgetting how to live honestly. If you've ever laughed, ever hurt, ever seen yourself in those words, drop a 1 to go deeper into the things we've never dared to say out loud. There's a truth most of us don't want to face. Much of the pain in our lives doesn't come from the world outside, but from ourselves, the expectations we build, the lies we repeat, the burdens we tie onto our own shoulders. We try to look strong, but inside we're full of cracks. We laugh when we don't want to, stay silent when we need to be heard, and get so exhausted we forget what it feels like to live honestly. The older we get, the clearer it becomes. People can endure almost anything, except the moment they must face their own weakness. We avoid the truth because it's raw. We avoid change because it hurts. And in the process, we lose what matters most, our self-respect, our peace, and sometimes even our sense of purpose. But the scariest thing isn't failure. The scariest thing is living a life where you know you're shrinking yourself, settling for pain, and becoming a stranger in your own story. Have you ever felt that way? Seeing a better version of yourself, but not having the courage to walk toward it? Those sharp, ironic lines weren't written just to make you laugh. They're a wake-up call. They pull you out of emotional numbness and force you to ask, am I really living or just existing? If you truly want change, not as a slogan, but as actions, start with the smallest step today. Say a truth you've been avoiding. Let go of a habit that drains you. Forgive someone or forgive yourself. Or simply admit you want a better life. Life doesn't demand perfection from you. It only asks you to begin. If you're ready to take that first step, drop a 1 as a promise to yourself. We'll walk this journey together. And as you start facing the little things, another truth slowly appears. Pain isn't just something we endure, it's a mirror showing exactly what we're missing. We fear getting hurt because we crave love. We fear failure because deep down we know we're meant for more. And the exhaustion doesn't come from a cruel world, it comes from living too long under expectations that were never ours in the first place. Humans, as those witty philosophies pointed out, are strange creatures. Intelligent yet easily misled, strong yet deeply wounded, humorous yet full of sadness. We create standards, then trap ourselves inside them. We chase validation, then feel lost when we forget who we are. We run after what we should have until we lose the simple joy of being ourselves. The truth is, each of us carries a shadow, a hidden place we avoid because we fear judgment. But that shadow holds the power to change us. It carries the proof that we've been hurt, been broken, and therefore understand what it means to be human. Life's sarcastic wisdom doesn't mock us. It reminds us that everyone is fighting a quiet battle. When we finally see this, we understand that maturity doesn't come from age or experience, but from the moment we face what hurts us. The moment we stop trying to be who others expect, and instead move closer to who we truly are. This is the foundation for what comes next, learning how to turn your pain, fear, and broken pieces into strength, clarity, and resilience. When pain is called by its true name and we stop turning away from it, a new door opens. The door of transformation. This change isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, slow, and shaped by simple things. It's the moment you learn that real strength doesn't come from avoiding emotion. It comes from standing still in the storm and seeing clearly what you're shaking about. In Mark Twain's sharp humor, the message beneath the sarcasm is cruelty. It's deep compassion. His wit doesn't attack us. It exposes the truth we hide behind fear and pride. Because only when we face the truth can we know where to go next. And slowly, you'll notice changes. Less anger over trivial things, less fighting to prove something, less hatred for the imperfect pieces of yourself. Instead, acceptance arrives not as surrender, but as the understanding that you can rebuild from the fragments life hands you. From that acceptance, a quiet but steady strength begins to grow. It's not loud or showy, but strong enough to help you move through hard days without hurting yourself again. You learn that life doesn't have to be easy, but you have the right to become stronger with each challenge. This marks the shift from knowing yourself to rebuilding yourself. A natural, profound step that leads you into the next phase. Turning inner growth into real change in how you live, love, and exist in a complicated world. As the journey of rebuilding begins, you notice something important. Maturity doesn't only grow inside, it shows in the way you show up every day. Your quiet inner shifts start shaping your choices. You react slower. You choose clearer priorities. You stop fighting old battles. You stop chasing unstable validation. You stop playing the hero in wars that aren't yours. Strength no longer looks like resistance, it looks like clarity. Mark Twain's sharp insights reveal a simple truth. People don't grow from praise, but from the moments they're forced to face their own shadow. And when that shadow no longer scares you, you step into life with a new kind of freedom, freedom from judgment, freedom from suffocating expectations, freedom from desires that were never yours. You begin choosing peace over winning, clarity over guessing, honesty over being agreeable. These choices might make you feel out of place at first because the path of truth rarely matches the habits of the crowd. But in that new space, you discover not isolation but wholeness. And you realize, life doesn't need you to be strong all the time. It only needs you to stop betraying yourself. What once hurt you becomes a reminder that you've lived deeply enough to feel, risen strong enough to stand, and grown wise enough to walk forward without carrying what doesn't belong to you anymore. Crossing that threshold of wholeness reveals something new. The desire to live with intention, not driven by fear, not haunted by shadows, but guided by a quiet question. What do I want my life to become? This question can only be answered by those who have survived their own storms. And its answer never comes from logic, but from the values purified through struggle, pain, and resilience. Transformation now is no longer about understanding yourself, but choosing how to live. Every decision, even the smallest, becomes a declaration. I choose myself. I choose truth. I choose peace. But this stage is also where many hesitate. We know what we must do, but fear that change will force us to leave behind familiar things, even the ones that hurt us. This is when action matters. Even the deepest insight is meaningless without a single honest step. One small change. One kind refusal. One clear boundary. One firm decision. Action doesn't need to be perfect, it only needs to be real. When you take even one step that's true to your heart, you start rebuilding your life from the strongest foundation. Honesty with yourself. And that leads to the next chapter, living fully with your new choices, turning life from a reaction into a direction. If you've read this far, you can feel life's invitation. So right now, choose one small action that moves you forward, even just 1 inch. Just begin. Just one true step. Life will open the path for you. As your first steps take shape, slow, small, imperfect, you start to see something you've never noticed before. Life has always responded to your choices. Not to luck, not to fate, but to the quiet footsteps you kept taking. And when you look back, you're no longer who you were not because everything became easy, but because you stopped facing life with your old fear. These changes aren't loud, but they seep into everything. How you handle pressure, how you face the truth, how you allow yourself to feel joy or sadness, how you let yourself be both vulnerable and strong. You no longer try to become someone else, you simply return to yourself, clearer, wiser, lighter. And you realize maturity isn't a finish line, it's a flow. Yesterday's pain becomes today's lesson. Yesterday's struggle becomes tomorrow's strength. Every small step is proof you chose to rise instead of retreat. What surprises you most isn't how much you've changed, but how the things that once hurt you have become the material that deepens your understanding of life. Pain stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher, strict, sometimes harsh, but always fair. What you once ran from now becomes the foundation of your calm and clarity. True maturity brings humility. You stop judging others because you know everyone carries stories too heavy to explain. You stop rushing to prove yourself because peace matters more than winning. You stop seeing failure as the end and start seeing it as a comma, a pause before the next chapter. This is when you live with a gentleness you never thought possible. The world looks different now, less harsh, less demanding, more meaningful. An ordinary day feels like a gift. A quiet moment feels like a refuge. A genuine conversation becomes enough to warm your heart for days. With deep presence comes an even deeper ability: living with direction. Not the grand plans or huge ambitions, but simple clarity about what you want and what you refuse to accept. This clarity helps you say no without guilt, yes without hesitation, and recognize the path meant for you. You realize life isn't short on opportunities, only short on the courage to take the ones meant for you. And courage doesn't come from applause. It comes from living each day a little truer, a little deeper. This becomes the foundation of a meaningful life, built not on big milestones, but on consistent, honest steps. You learn that life's true value isn't in what you achieve, but in who you become while achieving it. Success matters less than the kindness you carried on the way. Milestones matter less than the person you became after reaching them. A dream isn't just something to chase, it's a reminder that beauty still exists in a messy world. After walking through all these layers, you finally see something you couldn't see before. Life was never your enemy. It wasn't trying to hurt you. It wasn't a chain of cruel tests. Life is simply a mirror reflecting what you carry inside. If your heart is tangled, life becomes a maze. If your heart is calm, the world opens. This is where gratitude begins, not the forced kind, but the kind that fills every breath. You're grateful for rejection because it showed you where you truly belong. Grateful for failure because it taught patience and humility. Grateful for old pain because without it, you would never have learned to live with gentleness and strength. This gratitude reconnects you with others in a truer way. You no longer need anyone to complete you. You step into relationships with a full heart, ready to give without fear. You listen more, judge less, and choose depth over noise. And when you look back on the whole journey through pain, truth, transformation, and awakening, you realize the most important thing wasn't how fast you grew or how strong you appeared. The most important thing is that you never gave up on yourself. You walked through darkness to find light. You accepted your imperfections and still claimed your right to a good life. The journey doesn't end here. It simply shifts into a new chapter, one where you live with intention, peace, and love, where you stop chasing the temporary and choose what nourishes your soul, where you stop blaming circumstances and choose to rebuild your life from what you have. And the most beautiful realization of all is this: every person has the right to rewrite their story, no matter how many times they've fallen. No one can do it for you. No one can live your life for you. It all comes down to one daily choice: to live honestly, fully, and forward. The ending carries a gentle but powerful reminder. Life will never be perfect, but it will always be fair to those who dare to live honestly. Pain isn't a full stop, it's a signpost pointing you toward who you're meant to become. And from here, you walk forward with a new heart, a heart that has been broken, hurt, and exhausted, but is now stronger, clearer, and more peaceful than ever. Your journey isn't over. It's just beginning in a completely new way.